All right. Before we get started, here at Spartan Hackers, we uploaded our last talk, data visualization using D3JS, thanks to hosted by our workshop chair, Josh. What up? Yeah, we actually had some permissions, or it got banned from YouTube for a little bit, but we think we took care of that. So hopefully it's still up. Also, our pizza, the pizza here is today, which we ordered for about 74 people. I think we're good. Enjoy yourselves. That's given to us thanks to Spartan Innovations. They are, if I have them correctly, a big, they're a really good funding service for a lot of entrepreneurial and engineering events here at MSU. They're responsible for the Hatch on Grand River, if you've ever heard of it. That's associated with the MSU EA, the Entrepreneurship Association here. But you might be more familiar with the Hive, any of you in South Neighborhood, or in Wilson. What's up?
Should we sometime do like field trip to the Hatch? Or
that sounds dope. We should be talking with ACM about that.
What?
We should be, what? What'd you say, Juan?
I would like to go there too.
Yes, we would all like to go there.
Doesn't have to be on Tuesday.
It's in beta. We're still brainstorming. We'll get to that later.
Cool.
Yeah. So thank them for that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm the vice president and also the hackathon chair, so it's my responsibility to keep you guys informed about hackathons. So right now we're in the middle of bus negotiations for Hack Illinois, and if you weren't aware of this, but you're interested in going to your first hackathon, then totally apply, because the more people we have applied, the easier it is to get a bus. So whether we get one or not is solely my responsibility. You can hold against me. And on top of that, for whoever we can't get to Hack Illinois, we're going to redirect them to MHACs, which is really easy to get to. Contact me if you're wondering how. There's a Michigan Flyer bus that goes from Grand River and is really cheap. On top of that, and just for the rest of hackathons, the only other one that you might consider applying to if you're curious, I would check out Grizz Hacks. That's at OU, and that's a little bit further away, so you don't have to worry about it getting in between. It's not like a really big one.
When will we get updated about hacking?
As soon as we know. Oh yeah, right. Go on our Facebook page, and we should be having Spartans go to whatever hackathon, and that's where you should be in the comment section or posting regarding looking for carpools, whatever.
We're
Work on
trying
that.
for every hackathon.
Ideally.
Well, no, but I just.
All right. All right. Is anyone not ready? Does anyone not have their terminal up? Okay. Awesome. All right. Just ignore my pictures of cats. I was not looking at those before the event. All right. So, Bash. That's the language we're going to be. That's the shell that we're going to be using for the most part. Why is it important to know? Is the first thing that we should go over. Predominantly, Bash comes up when you're trying to remote into servers, because it's important to know Bash for your own computer to be able to do certain maintenance tasks, really things like deleting a bunch of extra hidden files. But more importantly, it's extra important for when you're remoting into places, because you don't have a graphical interface. You can't just click around on the desktop. You can't make or move files in a way that's normally intuitive to you. So we're going to be going over how to do that. On top of that, the one thing you need to know before you get started, for all of you day oneers here, is that the file system on your computer, the directory structure is that of a tree. So your computer is literally a bunch of folders or directories, same thing. I'm going to be calling them directories from here on out. But your computer is literally a bunch of directories. Even your desktop, for those of you who are used to the graphical interface, that's a folder itself within your home directory. And so because of that, it's important to know the three specific directories that we'll be referring to. The root is the single folder kind of at the core of your computer that hosts the rest of them. There's your home directory, which is the one we'll primarily be working with. That's what hosts everything pertaining to your user on the computer. And lastly, your working directory, which is just shorthand for the one that you're literally in at any moment. Aside from that, okay, I'm ready to get started. Okay, so got your shells open? Good, I hope so. Time for some basic navigation. All right, big moment. I want you, for all of you in your shell, I want you to type ls, the letters ls. Oh wait, I have my own. Sweet. Big moment. This will be the first command you've ever run. So what's going on here? So you've got this prompt. You know you can keep pressing enter as much as you want. It's just a simple prompt. And when you type ls, that's literally you listing the directory contents of the folder you're currently in. So look right here at my prompt. Mine might be a little bit different from yours. This is just kind of like, this is the user right here. But what you'll see in blue is that's whatever working directory we're in. So the tilde right now, the tilde, that squiggly line, is shorthand for your home directory. And so, yeah, and don't worry about this $sign. It's just a character, just visual, just nonsense. So, if you've never used Bash before, I think it's super important. Like, this is the biggest step because you might be super lost. So, what I'm going to have you do next is learn your second command, and that's cd, which you use to change directories. So in this example, I have my desktop right here, way over here on the left. So I'm going to cd to that. That's me moving into the folder itself. And I can ls again, and I can read the contents of that folder. All right? Big deal. But for some of you, you might be a little confused now, but I encourage you to spend as much time as you can just going back and forth between folders and practicing navigating, because we're going to be doing a lot of it this talk. Also, one last important thing to know is once you've changed, what's up?
How do you go back?
I'm literally about to say that. So you've now changed into your desktop directory. How do you go back? Well, no matter where you are, every directory has within it a ... directory. So if you literally type cd with 2 periods and hit enter, that's you moving backwards. That's you moving, up 1 in the tree. So you can continuously just go back and forth, and it doesn't matter. So I encourage you to continually, just everywhere you go, you'll just change to that directory, you'll read it out with ls, and then do whatever else. But I encourage you to get comfortable with doing just that. All right. Next command, let's see, let's go to our desktop. All right. Oh, also another, let's see, what's up?
You know what makes a home directory a home directory?
What makes a home directory a home directory?
/etc/files. That's where it's defined. It's just an arbitrary designation. It can be anywhere that you know.
It depends on your operating system. When you understand the setup of the root folder, that's when you understand that. All right. So the next command we're going to learn is touch. Touch is the manual pages of touch say that's meant for changing file access and modification times. Primarily, we're going to be using it for creating a file. That's something that's a very common day one task. So wherever you are, probably like in your desktop folder, you should touch just some like new file name. Just call it like new file.txt. And an interesting subpoint is that you notice how we did a .txt, the text extension. Specifically in Unix systems, the extension doesn't really matter. The extension helps programs read it and open it up accordingly, like to tell if it's a PDF. They need to be ready for that. And so the extension just aids that. But if we wanted to, we can just call it new fill, new file, doesn't matter. So now that's on my desktop. And if I list that out, and if you look carefully, you can see that you can see the new file. So let's see. All right, next we are going to remove that file, a very brutal process. It's just a simple rm. So it's just rm's the command and the argument, so new file. We're just going to remove that. And if I list it again, it's gone. All right. Another command that's also important is here. If we also, you can go using the arrow keys up or down. You'll navigate your history of commands. So you can literally just keep on hitting up to go back through your previous commands, and you can maneuver back through them with that down. So, For example, wherever I touched it. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to recreate that file. And then another thing we can do is copy, CP. So I would give it the file name that I want to copy, new file, and just name another one, like another file. And likewise, there's only one last command that you need to know, and that's move. So like say you would want to move new file into a different directory. You would move it like, you could move it into a new directory. You could move it back one directory by doing that. And also move has one other cool use, and that is renaming a file. You can literally rename new file into, yeah, whatever you want. Yeah, what's up?
How would you move it to your home directory? Like, let's say you're inside of a folder inside of desktop. How would you move it to your home directory without doing
Yeah.
//
Okay. Yeah. All right. So something cool about the home directory and the root directory is wherever you use the symbol, that's like an absolute path. Your computer knows where your home directory is. So if you're ever like, if you're ever nested deeply within a bunch of folders, and say you want to move some random file to your home directory, then you can just tell it to move that. Like for example, I renamed it to a new file, so I could move that a new file back to that directory. That's literally every time those forward slashes are just saying like the next directory. So that's how you would move it back to that directory. There's also this. This is the symbol for this slash is the root directory. And if you go to here and list out, you'll get some very basic stuff. Don't mess around here. This varies based on your operating system. So I don't want to talk about this much, but yeah. So wherever you are, if you're ever lost and you're ever worried about where you are, like especially if you're in the root, then just cd tilde, and that'll get you back to your home directory. Or even just cd space, like watch this, like desktop, cd, and that just defaults back to your home directory. All right, those are about all the basic commands that I wanted to go over before starting this talk. There's only one other one that's going to be like, you don't need to know it, but I mean clear, kind of nice, right? So moving on. Now that you've like got that under the belt, there's another important aspect to commands that you need to know, and that's options. So let's say I want to like list a new directory, but I want to see all the hidden dot files. You know, like remember how I told you every directory has 2 dots in it, or every directory has a dot directory, which leads you backwards. Well, you can see that if you list all. Here, I'm going to carefully go to a folder that has like less folders in it, so it's kind of cleaner to see. So here's like a list. Well, I want to list all of the things in there. So I'm going to use this option, the A option. That's list, and it literally means list all, right? So if you hit enter, that'll list all. And the only big difference that you'll commonly notice is just the dot, the double dot, and any dot files. A dot file is any file that begins with a dot, right? So, yeah. Now,
A dot file is a hidden file.
Also a hidden file. Yes. Yeah, an interesting property of dot files is if you like look at them, like if you have a dot file on your desktop, you won't see it. It's a hidden file. Now you may be wondering, what's on my screen right now? There's a directory. It is a folder, by the way, not a file, with just a dot. And there's one with 2. Well, the one with 2 dots is the one that you were using to get back. The one with a single dot means the current directory. It might seem really like overly redundant and not useful, but there are instances where like you might have a Python script, and in that Python script, you're calling a certain you're calling folders from within that. Like say you have a project folder somewhere in your system, and you want to call from within that project folder like the images folder, where you store all the images. Well, there are some situations where it might try and find that folder path from your home directory, or like as an absolute path, like from the root. So like say like I've got a project folder, and I've got the images folder within it. If I'm within a Python script and I literally say I just want and I try and like search through for like some image, then it's important to do. You would do the dot slash in that case because then it would look for it from the path where you're at and not from like the very beginning. I know it's a little weird, but I wanted to make that point. Okay, so yeah, so those are what we refer to as options. So like list all, right? There's a couple of others. There's list long. Actually, I'm kidding. There's a lot of others. And you may be wondering, how do I know all this stuff? Well, whenever you learn a new command, you're in luck because there's a command to do just that called man, right? So if you do man of any command that you've learned before, that you've heard of, you can literally, man stands for the manual pages of it. So I can man ls, and it will dump me into, it'll output all this information about the command where you can read about all of the flags or options and how exactly to use them, right? So, yeah. Aside from that, let me see where I'm at on time. Okay. All right, I gotta move a little faster, but yeah. There's only one other basic concept that we should go over, and that's piping and redirection. So there's this command right above your enter key. That's just a straight line. That's what you use. That's what we use for piping. So sometimes, let me think of an example. So when you list something out, that's a bunch of output. That's like being outputted to your terminal. So you might want to pipe that. You might want to do something with that. Let's say, here, a perfect example. I'll go back to my home directory or my desktop where I've just got a bunch of stuff. And I can't tell if it's kind of hard to find a new file. So literally what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to list that out and I can pipe it into another command. What piping does is it takes the output of the previous command and redirect it as input to the next. So the command that you're going to be using by far the most with piping is grep. Grep is kind of your search command, and you can look at the man pages if you want to find out all of the powerful functionality that you can do with it. There's so much more you can do to it. And so, for example, how I would use it is if I was trying to find a new file, I would literally grep, is there a new, anywhere in there? And boom, you can see it output. It says, yeah, it's in there. There's also a couple of other cool commands that come with this, like list, and you might look at a file and you might want to see the word count, the number of lines. That will tell us, oh, we had 36 lines in that list output, little stuff like that. But that's an example of what you would do with piping.
How would you take the content of ls and put it into a file?
Okay. Proper. All right, so that's piping. Now, there's another command that we usually refer to just simple redirection, and it's this one right here. So let's say, perfect example, Brandon. So let's say I want to take all of that and just shove it into a file or write it to a file. Well, we would just use this command. So we could literally take that and write that to a new file. An important thing about this command, here, I'll even use a text editor to open it. A new file. See, it's in there, right? So we just redirected that to the file. You can continue to chain things together. You continue to do, stuff like this and then pipe it to a new file. Lots of stuff like that. So that's kind of piping and redirection. We're gonna be using that later on. In fact, actually, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Or I guess I'm just taking longer than I thought. All right. Let's see. I'm not sure if I want to get this out of myself. Okay, yeah, I think I will. It's a good time to explain this. All right. So I'd recommend you all just go back to your home directory and go to your desktop. So from here, I want you guys to all run this command. Luckily, we're going to use the command curl, and curl it's curl. It's useful for sending requests. It's useful for getting information from pages. So we're going to use it in this case to grab information from this short URL that I've pre-prepared for you guys, thanks to Google. All right. So we've got this short URL, but there's one issue, and that is, you wouldn't know this off the bat, but because it's a short URL, it redirects. And so a perfect example of using options, we've got to use this location option to the curl command in order to get the content of the new page, right? So, and one also, last word about options, there's kind of this pattern where you notice that this curl command has 2 dashes for this option. Typically what you see is a single dash if it's just going to be a character, or a double dash if it's going to be a full thing. This might be relevant to you guys because you might like run Python and then like, or a command and you don't know what it does. You can do like, it's pretty, you can usually rely on a help flag and like, boom, like lots of stuff like that. So regardless, I know I got rid of that. I'll bring it back up, Control Y. All right. So this is our request for information. Now what this page is before you run this command is it's actually a copy of my like thorough notes for this talk, as well as a bunch of further readings for any specific topic that you want to read further into. I highly recommend it. Yeah, but one last thing we got to do to it, we got to write it somewhere. So if you just did this, it would just output to the command line. But now we're going to write it to whatever you want, bash.txt, whatever that matters to you, and it's going to run that command. Oh, by the way, whenever, yeah, what's up?
If you tell to, if you send it to a file that's not made yet, will make a file. Like,
Yes, exactly. There's also one other thing, and that is if you do 2 greater than signs, then that will append to a file, which means it won't completely overwrite it, it'll just add to it. This is a perfect example of, I don't know if I'm just literally not connected to the internet right now, but this is a perfect example of sometimes you do something in the command line and it goes wrong, or it's not finishing. What do you think it is?
What? No.
Do you think it's something? Yeah. So I'm going to do that again, actually, just for the sake of example. So sometimes you're stuck. You're in a process. Sometimes you like open up a Python console, like by literally running Python, and like you're kind of stuck in here and something's just not going right. Control C is a good fallback. Control C will get you out of so many situations. It's Control D in this situation, but that's Control D is actually specifically for getting you out of a different shell that you open up or a different console. But that's like minutia. Control C will get you out of so many situations. If like when I do this curl and it's not going, Control C, done. You'll even notice I have a little cute like worried face. That's a, yeah, cool baller stuff. All right. So, let's see. All right. Now enough of like the basic navigation. I know it's been a lot. Any questions before I go? What's up?
Curl failed because you forgot the HTTP and www.
Interesting point. Yeah. So it was literally it couldn't tell that this was a URL. It was literally searching my computer for a file of that name. So maybe that should work.
You forgot the www.
It worked. Yeah, it worked for me without the HTTP.
Put in quotes.
Put in quotes.
I know that's not the problem here. It's connected. I typed it exactly.
I think it's kind of.
So your computer's connected.
It's worked before me.
Hate that.
What up, Brandon?
Okay. So this is also another perfect example of how would you run, let's say it's a really long command, how would you put it in the background and go and do other stuff?
I was hoping to do that near the end because it's a little bit more advanced, but Control Z, just to answer your question for now. Yeah, that's more on the concept of processes.
Have you put it in the background and keep
Oh
it-
my God, we're gonna talk about this later. So, yeah. So, anyways, that command that I gave to you already. I keep going to my own. Yeah, that command that I gave to you already. I think that was it. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's a copy of my resource, and that'll give you something to read along with. Go off on your own and read it through. But now, if you have downloaded it and looked at it, sorry. Are you using Bash? Fun? Yeah, Brandon can take care of them. Okay, so I encourage any more questions before I move on to the next part of my talk, and also like get a slice of pizza if you haven't. Okay. Now we're gonna move on to the coolest part of the talk. I'm really happy I thought of this idea last night. It made me restructure this entire talk because I think it's something you all should do. I call it my. If you've read the README, I call it my mysterious and undisputably dope project. So just be prepared because I refer to that a lot. Okay, so we're about to do something both tangible and dope. So, you Windows users should be taken care of already because you already remoted in. But if you're on your own machine, SSH or remote into any. Here, I'll copy the command. Or wait, what am I saying? Yeah. Remote into any of the school servers. For those of you who don't know, how you do that is you would type SSH and then kind of your net ID and then at whatever host. So in this case, arctic.csc.msu.edu. Right? In my case, that would be Kneiser's. Right? And once you do that, it's going to prompt you for your password. Is anyone stuck on this? Raise your hand if you're not. Okay. Good. If you guys are also just listening along, like, I feel bad for you guys. You guys are missing out. What's up? What's your question? Okay. You just forgot his password. All right. So now you're in, if you'll notice, the home directory of the server you're remoted into. You'll see that with the tilde. And the next thing we're going to do right away is I'm going to start moving a little bit faster. We're gonna make a new directory. So you've seen how to make files with touch, but if you're going to make a directory, you got to do something different. You got to do mkdir, make directory. Yeah. So we're going to make a directory. We're going to make the web directory, right? It can't be anything else. Just make the web directory, okay? So we're going to do that. I've already done this on my own computer. Probably should have prepared a different environment, but yeah, so run major web, and we're going to create that directory. And then the next thing, what's up? Yeah. No. All right. So yeah, so list grep web. Oh. Ooh. Okay. Oh, it's because I'm not SSH'd in. Okay, SSH. I'll do this. I'll walk through this with you guys. Why not?
Your curl isn't installed.
Oh, I literally don't have internet right now. So you're SSH'd in, you've made a directory web. Now you need to go into that directory, so you would cd web. Now, this is the perfect place to dump my mysterious and undisputably dope file. So I'm going to need you guys to do, like what we did before, we're going to curl from another short URL. Let's see, let me get this right. w5ghzd. All right, yeah. And then we're going to write that to an index.html. Make sure you have a web directory. Make sure that this file is being redirected to an index.html. I don't want to give any more of that. You should probably do... Now, it should work regardless of if you do HTTP. Curl command not found. That's a shame. Yo, print env, print environment. I want to see what environment you're at. Yeah. Okay, now that you've done that, who did that? Out of curiosity, who's like actively following along? I want to see those hands, all of them. I want to see all of your hands. Okay, awesome. I'm so excited for you guys. Okay, now, what's up?
I'm getting error setting certificate verify locations.
Verify locations. Did you do HTTP like I have now on the screen?
I didn't, but it looks like it's an issue with my etc curl file.
Ooh.
And,
Is it on Arctic? Okay. All right. Do print env. I'm gonna get someone to help them out. No. Do print env and is your shell bash?
yeah. I'm in North right now.
Oh, North isn't bash by default.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh.
You gotta. Yeah.
Well, curl is not ours.
Yeah, it's not built in.
Okay.
You know, it's on my own, that's on my
No
own.
worries. All right, we're gonna do this the cheap way. Okay, this removes a little bit of the surprise value. So, you can literally go to that URL on your browser, I guess, if you're like into not using the terminal. That's the location of a raw text file. So I want you to copy all of the contents in that URL. Go to it, copy the contents. Then next, And also, yeah, once you do that, also touch in index.html and
What was the link?
what was the link?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do
Use
file
wget
change.
on Arctic.
Hmm?
You can use wget on Arctic.
wget. Okay. Yeah, use wget as a command instead of curl if the command's not found on Arctic. Google w5ghz. Boom. All right, there you go. Okay. Yeah. Anyone have any issues? This does not help that my internet's not working right now.
5GHC. Everyone has a capital F instead. 5GHCD. I didn't get a 404.
Capital W, 5.
Yeah, it's a capital W. That messed me up. I'm not sure.
Cap-
How is it?
I put in X.
Hey, it
What-
doesn't matter.
I purposely redirected it like.
Wait, I used the lowercase w. And I got into 4.
Okay, here I'll regenerate a new one.
What did I?
All right,
It'll be great.
boom.
No.
All right.
You should do it. Oh, no, don't do it. You won't catch.
GOO.gl is shorter than short URL down.
All right. Is my internet not working right now? Damn it. What's up?
I don't know. Just turn it off and turn it on and see. But actually, that worked 2 weeks ago for me.
Okay, yo, can you quickly right now go on goo.gl?
Steven, turn your Wi-Fi on.
Let's try. And also at the same time go on GitHub and search the Steves. All right, good.
There you go.
All right, go to the Bash workshop page. Are you on it? I'm gonna try that.
I got some weird file. I got some random files. It's like written in another language. This title is so.
Oh, wait a minute. 23BL, capital F1.
23BL. 23BL.
Your Wi-Fi's turned off.
I know, I turned it off.
Oh, okay.
I think he's on 5.
3BL.
Capital F.
Is that it? All right, yeah, we got a new URL up.
Give it a shot. Try and get it.
But I don't have internet right now.
Oh, yeah.
That's a serious concern.
Hey, dude, that's a problem. We'll fix that. Reboot it. It takes like 30 seconds.
The EGR servers were down last night.
It's better than
Yeah.
like not having it. You want to use mine? You use my computer?
Technical issues are no concern of mine. The show must go on. Okay. So, for all those of you who have done it, is anyone still running into issues? Just to make sure. Did you guys try the new URL? Is it working?
Then
Who else tried this new URL? Anyone? And did it work?
I got the last one.
What? Did you do curl location?
I'm just typing in browser.
Oh, then you might be having some internet issues. Really? Go to Go. Is your internet working? That's a capital F, a lowercase L. I'm convinced I got this one right.
20. It's 23. Lowercase b, lowercase l, capital F, 1. Oh, I think it's capital 1.
Steve, if I ran this and I redirected it to index.html.
Yeah.
If I ran that again, would it have put it?
It would just overwrite it.
There, or would it replace
It would overwrite it. If you did 2 greater than signs, it would append it.
It would append it.
Yeah. This is taken away from the hype. This is not okay.
Yeah, there's no hype.
There's no hype in here whatsoever.
Get your internet.
I know, my internet literally doesn't start. Okay. All right, just one last call. Anyone still running into issues? Still 404 in? I'll talk with you guys after the talk.
I'm getting a 404 if I like put it in my into like Chrome. But
Yeah, I'll work with you guys after the talk. For those of you still following along and ahead, all right. So the next thing I'm gonna need you guys to run is, you might as well can you change directory back to your home one? So run cd tilde, so I know that you're in your home directory.
wait, on Arctic or on my machine?
Whatever you're doing.
On Arctic. Okay. And now that you're there, I'm gonna need you guys to run this command, like no questions asked. Completely. That'll ruin the fun. All right. So let's see. Okay. Realistically, what this is doing, chmod is for changing permissions. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm gonna need you to run that command as well as we're gonna need to change the permissions of the web directory. So via that command. All right. Yeah. So for those of you like immediately following along, does anyone got it to work? Johnny, you got it to work?
I put web in my desktop folder, so it gave me let me move it.
No, you got to put it in your home directory, dude.
I know, let me move it.
You. Okay. Yeah. Damn. Okay. Okay. So, what happened here? Oh, my internet's down too? Okay. Here we go. Oh, I can do this still. We're good. We're back up. Okay, open it. I turned off my Wi-Fi and did not turn it back on. All right, here we go. So, you should now have a web page. What just happened? So, you just SSH into Arctic, right? You create a new folder called web, which is actually the folder they look through on your account. And within it, you create an index.html, which by default, when someone goes to that URL, they look for. So you should have a web page like this, except not at this URL. You will actually have it hosted at, if you did Arctic, then cse.msu.edu/your own netid, right? So, so what's great about this is now from here, if you want to learn about web development, keep coming to our workshops. And also, but I totally recommend you go and learn this on your own. HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's all an entirely different topic. But now, thanks to the command line, you've officially set up your own site. I think that's super dope. Thanks. All right. Yeah, that was a little muddier than I expected, but I hope you guys appreciate this tasteful watercolor background. What's up?
Is there any reason why they don't use public HTML?
Public HTML?
Yeah, like on a lot of Apache servers, they have a folder called public HTML.
That's because it's an Apache server, and they usually have their own kind of. Yeah. All right. I'm about to do a bunch of. I'm about to do just from here on out a lot of tips and just general Q&A. So this is a perfect time for you guys to like stretch your arms, get some pizza if you want. Let's see. Yeah. Here we go. Funny story, when it came to these short URLs, I actually generated them like 10 times each to try and get the most convenient one, but I guess that didn't help. All right, like that. There you go. That is the link to the notes to the talk, which are even like, they're like really like significantly thorough. I'm proud of those. And plenty of good readings for you afterwards. Before I continue, any more questions? From here on out, I'm going to kind of walk through kind of a structured list of commands that I wrote for myself when it comes to just using Unix. So I encourage any questions along the way. I'm just going to go a little bit quicker. For any of you, it's targeted towards those of you that have touched like the terminal before, but like have any questions about a specific topic. All right. So.
What if you type RM? Just follow after me.
Yeah. All right.
That's what you should have had him download. It's a script that just runs RM.
That's evil. All right. Yeah. 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 Be wary. Yeah, we're having too much fun. All right. Yeah. So a common task is deleting. I'll like head right over. But a common task is deleting an entire folder. You can do rmdir, and that's a common way of handling that. But you also need to get rid of the contents of the folder first to run rmdir. So in that case, you could run rm-rf, which is both the recursive flag and the force flag, which is like just pointless. It's literally telling your computer, don't like ask me to check twice. I want to remove everything within this folder, right? Yeah. So watch out for that. Be careful of that command. I've used a lot of projects for that. Yeah, so once you've remoted in, you can run the command logout to log out, also Control-D. The same thing with when you're in a Python console and you have to get out, same Control-D. Yeah.
What is this inline styling you have?
Inline styling? What are you talking about?
What is that inline styling you have? What, do you know what inline stuff? Dude, when you got a style thing?
Oh, yeah.
Or style attribute?
Yeah, the index.html I had you guys get was really not best practice, but it was meant to be as concise as possible. Also, if you just look at that index.html, it was actually tailor-made to be really readable for someone who's never seen HTML before. So I hope you guys appreciate that. Okay. Yeah. All right. Next. Yeah. Dustin asked about the asterisk. All right. So in Unix, this asterisk usually stands for like all, right? So like this would be a really bad idea. Don't do that, right? But it gives you it gives you an idea of seriously. It gives you a great idea of. I'm trying to think of a couple of uses for it, right?
Well, like,
besides like,
so
yeah. So if you wanted to,
like a star.txt and it'll fill everything with a .txt in that.
yeah.
If everyone could go to cd/applications on your Mac and then do open star, that'd be great.
No.
Nah. So outside of that, let's see. Yeah. So, all right, back on track. So now I'm going to just move through a couple of things sequentially. So you heard me mention grep, and just like if you're going to be using grep, it's invaluable for you to use the flags R and I, because R and I is a matter of recursively searching, and for like it's also case insensitive. You would literally use this if this is really good for if you have a lot of code, if you have lots of separate files, and you want to manually search through them and look for like any keyword. Say you have a variable and you can't find where it is for the life of you, and you need to. grep RNI would be a great thing for that. Also, on the notion of finding, literally the find command. A common use for that is, so you have a bunch of files, and you're like looking for where that is within your file system. Then you would do find dash, and you could do something like that, and like file I'm searching for, right? So what else? What else should I go over? Permissions, permission rights,
Do aliases if you're bored.
aliases, setting up custom environments. I don't know.
I mean, if you're bored, I'm not telling you what to do. It's your phone.
True. Right. Okay. I'll just go to like some advanced things. All right. A couple of random interspersed topics as well. So I mentioned that you can go up and down to go through previous commands. Something really helpful for if you like did some command a while ago and you can't find it for the life of you. Sometimes this is really useful for say you curled from you grabbed from a URL or like some specific file name or just a long command that you ran that you don't want to run again. Then you can use Control R that goes into this kind of reverse I search, and it's just really convenient because you can literally begin to type. Like for example, I typed in that command curl location some URL way long ago, and I can't find that for the life of me. I can immediately start typing curl, and it's gonna try and find the closest match as I go. Look at that, it's already there. I just hit enter and it already started running it, despite my lack of internet. Okay, yeah, that's something really cool. Also, another advanced thing, a lot of these kind of come from T-shell. For those of you who have done a lot with Bash, something that's super helpful for is if you've ran a bunch of commands before, but you run into permissions issues, a really common thing to do is you run a command, permission denied. Okay, I've got to use sudo. But you don't have, typically what you do is you would go up, run that command again, and type in sudo at the beginning. But you can just simply type sudo with 2 exclamation marks, and those exclamation marks will represent the command that you just ran. So it will literally rerun that entire command. I think it'll even tell me. See, that's an example of, you can see the command it tried to run right there. Yeah. Also, for those of you who don't know, sudo is the command that it's really important for you guys to know, because you might even run into something really malicious online of oh yeah, just run this command. Both sudo and here we go. What is it? Sudo and su have to do with giving yourselves permissions that you wouldn't normally have. So running sudo is literally run this command as if I was root, as if I was the administrator of this computer. Don't run it on the CSE server. I've done that myself and gotten an email from the system administrator. Yo. It was that simple. All right. So notice how it asks me for my password. That's the power of sudo. Typically you'll use this when you get into, when you start installing stuff on your computer. So package management. On top of that, I'm trying to think of other common uses. But yeah, really when you're installing stuff on your computer is really when you'll see it. So be careful about that. I see a hand? No? Okay. Something else. All right. Also another subtle thing, because I mentioned the 2 exclamation marks, sometimes another really cool one is an exclamation mark and a $sign, which it's the same thing, except it just grabs the last command. So if I ran a command 1, command 2, and then some file path, some URL or something, this is a perfect example of, I would just say I wanted to go and edit that, then I would do some kind of edit command that would literally grab that file name. Or here's a better idea. Command 1. All right. So here's a file. And I ran those commands on a file. I could literally just instead use a text editor like Vim and just do this. And it would try and it would open up, literally you can see the command ran file. That's really useful for when you've been using the terminal a lot and you're just looking for small little other efficiencies. On top of that, what else should I go over? No, I shouldn't talk about that. Also, okay, here's a more basic one. So let's say you have some ridiculously long file name, and you need to constantly access that. This is a great this is something that when someone's learned Bash but they don't use it a lot, this is something you see them doing. Is you see them trying to like, what would I say, like edit it. So like Vim, and then try and type it out, and it's equally ridiculous. I probably spelled that wrong. I'm not sure, but you can literally just enter tab, and it'll complete it for you. That's awesome, and it pains me whenever I see someone not using it. So, you know, most of the things you need to do, like going to desktop, like if you see someone who's like been on their like terminal a lot, you'll see them just do CD and then type dash, or CD, DE, and then just tab. So tab completion, use it. All right. On top of that, what else should I go over? Bash scripting, aliases. Oh yeah. Okay. Kind of a middle grounds here. When you get into kind of customizing your own environment, this is only for people that have been using it for a little bit longer and are starting to get tired of like typing certain commands. You can make aliases that will run an entire. It's literally a shortcut. You're literally making your own alias. If you so that makes sense. So I didn't know what alias meant before this. So for example, I always like to whenever I'm like listing out a folder, you know, I do that more than any other command, right? But I also like to do a couple things. Sometimes I like to use I've done it so much that I've since forgotten exactly what each one of them does. Oh yeah. So for example, this is just a normal list. Well, I want to know which ones are directories. Now I do. Each one that's a directory now has a slash after it. And even cooler than that is, and this is, be careful about this, the capital G, this is Mac specific. If you're on, so if you're on a Mac, then it'll be capital G. If you're on a, like Ubuntu or any other Linux system, I believe it's like color, if I'm like not mistaken. But yeah, so on my machine, that's what it does. And so for someone who's always maneuvering the terminal, that just makes your life 20 times easier. Now, back to aliasing, I have that just like list with that. Like I have that all just alias to S. Probably shouldn't do single character aliases, but what can I say, right? And SA would just be S all. Now, something you're going to want to know now is, okay, I've got that alias, but how do I use it? Because like you don't type in your aliases every single time you get back on your computer, every time you like reopen a new terminal. So this is something that is dependent on your shell. In this case, this is going to be bash specific. Bash by default checks a couple of dot files when you open up a new terminal. For bash, that's bash profile, bash rc, and dot profile in that order. So something like a bash profile is something where, see like, yeah, I'll actually show you this. So like, this is what happens when I open up a new terminal. It outputs that because like, I don't know. It's really narcissistic, I know. I think it just looks cool. But I encourage everyone to like make their own ASCII art name. Just Google a generator. But yeah, so this is a bash profile. And in here, I hope I have nothing bad in there. Okay, now. All right. But this is exactly the place where you would put something like alias s equals ls afg, something like that, right? But, oh, I should actually, here, vim dot, see, something like this. This is, yeah. Do I have anything bad in there? Oh, yeah, yeah. Something, yeah, so when you're using alias, here, am I looking at my own computer? Here we go. Yeah, so something interesting about alias is, say, if you have an alias and you don't remember what it was, you can literally type in alias. So in my case, I use SA, so if I type in alias SA, it shows it. So I use that so much that I even aliased A to A. Yeah. But, like, you know, subtle things like that, like mdemand. Again, I would not recommend the single character aliases because sometimes that breaks something. Because a lot of things, you can imagine the things that use a single character And I have run into that once before, and it was messy. Let's see. Let's see if I got anything else good in there. All right. Yeah. So, and on top of that, you can also do functions down here. These are examples, some bash functions. This is what gets into like the meat of the language. And there's so much to talk about on this topic that I just like pointed to a bunch of great articles that cover this stuff in the README. So check that stuff. They'll go like far deeper than I ever will. All right, let's see. Trying to think of whatever else. So yeah. These are your DAW files. On top of this, let's see. Ooh, what a great idea. So I just got mail just now. Where'd that come from? Cron tab. All right. So the cron tab this is more of an advanced topic, and you probably won't need to use this much, but every now and then it's like this is like just what you need for some certain things. Cron tab is something you use for scheduling routine tasks. Say you want something that checks your computer. I literally had someone in CSE 320 that literally remoted into Arctic, and they wanted to know every time a new assignment was uploaded. That was a really cool use case of it. I'm not sure if that was Giorgio. It might have been Giorgio. So what you would do is, I even link an article to editing your cron tab in my further reading as well. But the basics of it would be, in order to edit it, you have to go to cron tab flag E. That opens it up. And so it has its own syntax, which you can read about. But it literally goes, if I remember correctly, it's like the first number is like the minutes of the hour. The second is the hours of the day, 24 hours, days of the month, and like days of the week. So say you wanted it to run every Friday. And like notice I use the asterisk again. That's the operator for all. And then you give it the command to run. Right. And for those of you that go on to start writing bash scripts, source is the command that runs a bash script. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Like even for example, like cron tab is something I also used for like when I made a Twitter bot and I wanted something to check Twitter once a minute. When you're writing bots, by the way, be careful about like hitting rate limits. A lot of services don't like you constantly making requests from their server. Twitter since like banned that account, so it was for a good cause, but it was for a good cause. Yeah. On top of that, let's see whatever else. I actually implemented them on the school servers, and they were not happy with me, so don't do that. Speaking of school servers. Nice. So, nice is a command for, this has to do with when you're getting to, when you're getting down to the level of processes. And so if you're ever doing anything on school servers, nice is nice to know. Because it allows you to set the priority of a process. That's really good for, well, I shouldn't say that. It's more like the school really hates it when you run a long task on their servers. There are some EGR compute servers that are designated for us all to use, but if you're out prioritizing everyone else, that's just not cool or nice. So you can manually set the level, the niceness level using flag N to whatever like command you are. Like say like source some script, like .sh. So you would give that a niceness level of like 19. Right. School actually makes you give a level of 19 to 20. When it comes to processes and the niceness level, there's a niceness from -20 to 20. So they make you go to 19 or 20 for any commands you run because that's like literally saying, give my processes the lowest priority, move them out of the way if anyone else needs that space. Any questions? I know I've been touching on a lot of topics. Any curiosities? What's up?
So lower niceness says it gets.
Yeah, literally turning on your computer starts like the init process, which is -20. Yeah. What else aside from that? I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this overwhelming list of commands and trying to think of like what's cool for you guys to know. Okay. Yeah. when it comes to finding information, we know about man. That's great for looking at the manual pages for any command, like ls, man ls. But you need other ways to find it. Sometimes the man pages, especially if you're starting out, the man pages are hard to read. So, I mean, of course, Google's always a source. And something you'll notice as you go up your kind of the ladder of CSE classes is that they will require more like accurate Googling of you. Like you'll have to get smarter about how you query to find the information you want. But I think a good method to the madness of finding help is to try man first, then apropos, and then Google. What's apropos though? That's the middleman. Say you don't know all of the commands. I'm joking. Like if you think that there might be a command that handles something, a great thing to do is run apropos, which works similar to man, except it reads all man pages, and it looks through the titles and the descriptions. So, like for example, you don't need to know this, but there's man ls. Well, there's something. If you go to man ls, you can see at the very top there it says list directory contents. Well, if you run the command what is, that literally just it lists a bunch of them that are kind of similar that have ls in a bunch of commands that have ls in it, but you'll notice down here, here's the ls command. There's like the command itself and then the description. So if you type apropos and you search something like list directory, then it will look through all of the commands that your system has, if I'm not mistaken, and looks through all their descriptions and looks for those words that you search on apropos. All right. So man, apropos, Google. Good takeaways. Any other specific questions? I'm literally jumping around at this point to try and hopefully find some blind spot that you don't know for the more intermediate users. All right. Yeah. It's 8, by the way, so it's been an hour. So, yeah, I'll officially end my talk at that point. But thanks for listening, guys.
Talk about some hackathons, though.
I'm getting tired of saying. Okay.
No,
So
seriously.
what? List some hackathons. What do you mean?
Yeah, upcoming hackathons that we might want to.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, the hackathons. Thanks for coming to this talk, by the way, guys. It means a lot to us. That was very roundabout, but I appreciate it. Yeah, for those of you interested in hackathons, again, I reiterate, if you haven't already, but you're interested, definitely apply to Hack Illinois. Same thing goes for MHacks. I'll try and get any of you who I can't get to Hack Illinois out to MHacks. Just Facebook me, email me. Should I show up my email? Am I findable anywhere?
You can organize it through the Facebook.
Yeah, through the Facebook page, and yeah. But yeah, reiterate, hackathons to look out for. Hack Illinois, MHacks, both the same weekend.
Now, next weekend is Intro to SQL Databases.
Next weekend is
Or
Intro
next
to
week, sorry.
Next week is Intro to SQL Databases, hosted by Tony. So look forward to that. What else?
So what if I am interested but don't have people to go with and don't have an idea as far as what I want to look at?
Then we're going to make some event pages.
Yes.
For
Yes.
the hackathon.
So for one last time, for all of those who are interested in hackathons, we will be making event pages. So those should be your hub to get informed.
I have a question, how do you customize the
So did you grab my README? Okay, right near the bottom of my README, I link you to. Okay, it's literally. I didn't get to go over environmental variables. Do you know what those are? Are you familiar with environmental variables, or are you completely new?